More Tamers? Last week we did a video over the melee Tamer. It was a lot of fun and I've honestly been really enjoying it. I've found myself waking up early to do a couple runs in a dungeon before I get started on work, and then finding it some time at the end of the night to do more farming. But with that, guys, I've been asked a lot. What pets do I use? Sure, I showed you those vampire bats, but the beauty of Outlands right now is that there is so many different choices. So with that, guys, let's talk about some of the different pet choices that I've found in my time as being a melee tamer. Guys, sit back, grab yourself a beer, and let's tame some animals. Alright, now keep in mind, these pets will be specific to melee tamer. They will work with a mage tamer, but they won't be as powerful and flow the same. Comment below if you'd like a mage tamer pet video. Alright, so the first one, 3 army ants and 2 blood hunters. These guys pack a punch, each with 1 control slot. My favorite. Let's start with the army ants, which have an ability called Swarm Strike. This has a 15% chance on hit to apply a cripple effect and a pierce effect. So that means monsters will be easier to hit and have less armor as these guys proc this over and over. Since we're doing 3 of these, you can imagine what happens. As far as the bestiary goes, we're gonna go with 6 points in Breaker. This makes your ants immediately ignore 66% of the target's armor that they are already breaking. Metabolism for 6 points. Every time the ants hit, they heal for 2% of their max health. If they are full health, their damage is increased by 12%. Swoop for 6 points. Remember Swarm Strike? It has a 15% chance to go off every hit. Well, Swoop will make the next attack after their cooldown goes off do 150% more damage. The last 2 points, let's just throw 1 in Bee Sting and 1 in Carry On. The reason for that is nothing else really applies to these armor ants, so let's just go ahead and use the points for a 4% increase in damage for each of those perks. We could use 1 point in punishment, but it calls for 15 seconds to go through before we get a damage bonus. Most of the monsters are dead well before then. Now let's talk about the 2 blood hunters. These guys do massive damage, especially when your army ants are debuffing them. And if you chose fencing, it just further enhances their chance to hit. For abilities, they have a bleed as well as a blood frenzy, which soaks up the blood of creatures around them within 6 tiles and increases melee attack speed depending on how many blood tiles they've soaked up. And like I said, they're making them bleed, so there's just blood everywhere. As far as their bestiary is concerned, they are attack pets, so let's do Feral with 6 points. This capitalizes on their blood frenzy. Every 15 seconds, they will do 240% increased damage. Their frenzy lasts 30 seconds, so it's possible that they could get 2 of these 240% increased damage hits. Imagine if you have command weapon go off at the same time. That's just nuts. Hunting Party for 6 points. If you chose fencing or another up-close weapon skill, this is great. Your blood hunters will deal 30% increased damage as long as both you and your pets are within 1 tile of the target. Lethality for 6 points. Your hunter's melee attacks have a 30% chance to inflict double damage. Otherwise, your blood hunters deal 12% increased damage. Mutation for 1 point. This reduces the cooldown for cooldown abilities by 2 seconds. That means more frenzies. And then Swarm for 1 point. This increases Bloodhounder's damage by 10% since we have 5 followers. Alright, the next powerhouse we have is the Cave Gorger and Searing Mantis. Let's talk about the Cave Gorger first. He'll be the one who you have take aggro. He's got tons of hit points and also an ability called Gorge that inflicts double maximum damage against entangled, hindered, or hamstrung targets, and restores 5% of hit points. It also has a chance on melee hit to entangle creatures. For the bestiary, he goes into utility. Let's do 6 points in Breaker. This will further pump out his massive hits by ignoring 66% of the target's armor. Opportunity for 6 points. Melee damage increased by 60% if the creature is entangled or hindered within the last 10 seconds. And as you guys know, Gorge is going to be doing just that. Swoop for 6 points. The next melee attack within 10 seconds after using Gorge will have its damage increased by 150%. Wow, that just pops right in with opportunity as well. For the last 2, once again, spin them on Bee Sting and Carry On, just for those increases in pet damage. Now let's talk about the Searing Mantis. He has 2 super offensive abilities. Flame Strike, which basically does whatever maximum damage is, as well as bleed. When it comes to the bestiary, the Mantis uses the attack section. We'll start with Immolate at 6 points. This will make flame strikes do 150% more damage. Lethality at 6 points for melee attacks to have a 30% chance to inflict double damage, and Primal at 6 points for the chance of our passive to trigger by double of normal. That's both bleeds and flame strikes, which just further helps our Immolate that we had for 6 points, where the flame strikes do 150% more damage. And for the last 2 points, we can stick one in Hunting Party for the Mantis damage to increase by 10%, since we'll be standing next to the target since we're a melee tamer, and the last one in Ambush for 4% damage. There you go, guys. 2 fun powerhouse of pets that you can play as a melee tamer. I mean, obviously, I know a lot of people are really going off on the snowdrifts, and I didn't really want to tag along and make a how-to on those. I'm sure that's all over the Discord. But either way, there's 2 different ones here, one with super fast attack speed and one with a bit slower but harder hits. Comment below some of your pet combos that you've been using and share them with the community. And then also don't forget to let me know if you'd like to see the mage side of taming in the coming weeks. Shout out to the Patreons, the channel members, and you for liking this video, as it helps for discoverability for myself, but more importantly, UO Outlands and my fellow streamers. Make sure and come by the live streams most evenings right here on YouTube at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Other than that, guys, I'll see you next time. Pwn Star Gaming out.